everyone. Welcome to Wellness in Your House. We are the True Wellness Center, and today we're presenting on the art of choosing happiness. My name is Olivia Holmes. I'm a SWAT ambassador. My pronouns are she, her. I would love to locate myself. I was born and I'm currently living on the traditional and unceded territory of the Kwamandun First Nation and the Chakwachan culture. I'm really grateful to have been born and raised on these territorial lands. It's a beautiful place to be, in which I create a lot of enriching connections, and I learn a lot about happiness and the work we do through wellness today through my upbringing. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm going to hand it over to Bibi.
Hello everyone, my name is Bibi and I'm a member of the Student Wellness and Ambassador, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm speaking from Kamloops, Thompson River University. Thompson Rivers University is located on the traditional and unceded Shuekwekmek territory. Kamloops and Williams Lake campus are both situated on the traditional and unceded Shuekwekmek territory. We honor the Shuekwekmek indigenous people who have raised families and created communities for thousands of years on the land we live, learn, and love on today. The Shuekwekmek maintain a passionate relationship to scared elements of life, land, water, air, animals, plants, and all things needed to sustain. In mind that we live with gratitude and respect for the Shuekwekmek people. We invite anyone and everyone to acknowledge at this time.
We're just going to leave about 5 seconds for people to acknowledge territory. Feel free to do so in your head or on the chat. Okay, we're going to get started here. So we're going to be talking about the art of choosing happiness today, so we thought we'd start with a little bit of a definition. The Oxford Dictionary, Western definition, we can understand happiness as a state of well-being and contentment. We can also see this as joy or a pleasurable or satisfying experience. Happiness, it's probably a word you've heard for a while now. If we look in terms of a more holistic approach to the terms of happiness, we can maybe understanding it as a natural and long-lasting sense of joy or contentment. So we provide the contrast and definitions, and hopefully through these examples you can find a definition that you resonate with, just to better understand what we're going to be talking about here today.
Yeah, this is my favorite slide. So this is what we think are the ingredients that build happiness. We often believe that having good housing, more and better food, excellent medical care and facilities, access to clean water, sanitation, education, good justice system, welfare and benefits, freedom to travel, speak openly and vote are things that will bring happiness to us. But the actual truth is that they bring happiness, but they don't last long. Next slide. So happiness has nothing to do with what is going on around us. It is literally a choice that we make moment to moment. You still have a lot of time to make yourself be what you want. And it is great to hold outside circumstances responsible for the level of our happiness. For instance, the amount of money we have in the bank, or if we're making our family, friends, and bosses happy. But the truth is that you are the only one who can decide to be happy and unhappy at any situation. We have realized that there are many self-help books out there that suggested to us to just think happy thoughts and we'll be fine. However, the reality of perpetually being positive can be downright stressful and draining. Example of one of those self-help books that really helped me is The Uncharted Soul by Michael Singer, and also The Power of Now. And I'm so sure everyone has one or two of those self-help books that has really helped them. But in reality, it can be downright stressful to wake up one morning and decide to be happy. Yeah.
Okay, so the art of choosing happiness, we can understand this maybe in three parts. We have a lovely graphic on the side. I hope I find what I'm looking for, and if you look a little closer, down low it says stop looking, it's inside. So we can understand the art of choosing happiness maybe in three parts. So first comes the given. Every single day we wake up and we expel energy. That's a given, whether we're getting out of bed to go to the bathroom or we're CEO of a company, we every single day wake up and expel some sort of energy, which prompts us to the second part, the choice, which we can maybe ask ourselves a couple questions to better understand and be more cognizant of the choices we're making within our expelled energy. So is this energy positive? And asking ourselves how this energy truly serves us. And the last and arguably hardest part of the art of choosing happiness would be the commitment. Understanding that choosing happiness is a lifelong freedom, a gift that you can only give yourself. So these are the three kind of components of maybe how you would break down the art of choosing happiness to better understand that it is a choice and it's a commitment. I'd like to a special note of the word freedom. I think that it's important to note that we free ourselves through happiness. And again, through that choice, we allow ourselves to start enjoying the little things and we choose what we focus on.
Yeah. So you would think that even here in the Western world, it is normal. It's going to be normal to be happy. It's normal to be happy, most especially for the fact that we have good education system here, good justice system, and even the freedom to speak openly. But the actual fact is that this can we often get downright miserable. And here is a quote from Dalai Lama, who is a spiritual leader and a Buddhist. In one of his books, The Act of Kindness, Act of Happiness. He stated the purpose of our lives is to be happy, and he also emphasizes that there are two different meanings of happiness, which is a good feeling and an active philosophy. Yeah, a good feeling. Happiness makes us feel good. For this reason, we chase it, but we find out that it does not last. Trying harder to experience only pleasurable feelings will only make us more anxious and depressed when they elude us. So, for instance, I just realized that the new iPhone 13 just came out like 2 days ago, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are even saving up to even get the iPhone 12. And the more we chase all of this, the more we don't get satisfied. We want to measure up, and it just drains us of our energy, and we just get more anxious and depressed. And next slide. An active philosophy. This focuses on creating a rich life, a rich, full, and meaningful life. This involves taking action on things that matter to us, moving in directions of what we see as valuable and worthy, engaging fully in what we do. And all of this goes hand in hand, like taking action is the first step we need to do. And it mustn't be a very, very big action. It might just be maybe adding some veggies in your diet for the day, or taking a fruit for the day, or eating just fruit, taking a walk. And, this will make us like move towards the direction of what we see worthy and valuable. Most times we wake up in the morning not feeling motivated or even inspired at all to do anything, but it can just be you stretching, taking a stretch when you wake up in the morning. That can just, brighten your day and make you want to feel motivated. And I believe that no one can be your overall motivation. Here we have family and friends that can motivate us, inspire us, but we should always understand that they are also humans, and if they don't fill their cup, it's going to be hard for them to fill your cup. So, and this will enable us to engage fully in what we do, being more in the present. I believe that when you're living more in the present, it makes you less anxious and depressed. I'm so grateful to be a part of the Wellness Center because I feel like I'm being of service to people and my peers. Interacting with my peers will help me feel a sense of service, and I tend to feel more less anxious. And yeah.
Thanks, Bibi. Okay, so I'm going to introduce somebody now. We know him as Humble the Poet, or his given name, Conwer Singh, who is a Toronto-based spoken word creative with an aura that embodies resilience and diversity. With tattoos, beard, head wrap, and a silly smile, Humble commands attention. He stimulates audiences with ideas that challenge conventional wisdom and go against the grain, with the dynamic live sets that shake conventions and minds at the same time. So this is Humble the Poet. I put a little picture of him off of his website, and that's actually him on himself. I figure who better to more introduce himself than himself. He knows exactly what he does. This man is a philosopher, he's a poet, and he's an inspiration. I'm going to share a quote by him to get us going on Humble the Poet. Unhappiness is simply when the picture in your head doesn't match the picture in front of you. How you want something isn't set in stone. I think this quote inspires a lot of things. And I think what I'm getting from it mainly is I think that Humble is validating this thought that happiness is a choice through when he talks about that what we want is never set in stone. We can think of happiness that's something that's malleable and easy to manipulate, something that we can change and choose. So if we understand unhappiness as when the picture in our head does not match the picture in front of us, we can then navigate through that statement and understand that our choice and control in that matter is to change the picture in our head. This is probably through gratitude, mindfulness, and self-reflection. Humble the Poet has a lot of different books, poems, a lot of literature and resources out there. I really encourage you to check him out, but I'm going to share a couple of the main takeaways. So Humble the Poet reminds us that we gain more from letting go. And as you read through his books and through his studies, you understand what he means. And I think that we can understand this through a way of weighing us down with holding grudges and holding on to things and moments that, of course, they're valid. Of course, they hurt us in the moment. But at what point, what are we personally gaining from this experience? And I think Humble reminds us that letting go of this unhappiness or these negative feelings or these wanting us to control everything around us, he reminds us that it really only weighs us down. And I think one of my favorite points Humble the Poet brings up that is a key component in the art of choosing happiness is respecting happiness as a mindset. Truly respecting the art that is choosing happiness and understanding it as a mindset, as a choice, as a phenomenon, something that we can attach to and abide by. And he goes on to say that we shouldn't be afraid to fake it until we make it. And I think that sometimes this saying gets a little bit misconstrued. And I would love to guide everybody into a more mindfulness practice of this, because I think sometimes it's hard for us if we're feeling down. Someone says, oh, just be happy, just be happy. Of course, it's easier said than done, but I would even challenge a 30-minute timer on your phone. Okay, for 30 minutes, I'm going to continuously smile. I'm only going to use positive language. And it could really just be as simple as 30 minutes at the beginning, an hour, 2 hours, whatever your threshold is. And I know it sounds silly to maybe time it. And if you feel like you don't need that, feel free to do it in whatever way feels comfortable to you. But yeah, don't be afraid to test it out. Don't be afraid to test out the waters of happiness and to remind yourself how great it feels. And I think that links with our next thought, which is to improve your relationship with your emotions. And I think this is where Humble leaves room for us to feel things and to feel sad and to emote, because life isn't perfect and it isn't always going to be full of happy moments. But if we have a really strong understanding of our personal emotions and we build a relationship with them, I think more often than not, we can see our genuine emotion and maybe our genuine sadness, and we have a better job differentiating that from maybe a little bit more of a superficial sadness, or maybe your sadness is just a product of an absence of gratitude. So I think that Humble reminds us here that your emotions are all at play when we are choosing happiness, and it isn't happiness 100% of the time, but as long as we can improve our relationship with what that looks like, we're probably even halfway there. And I think that all of his lessons beautifully combine together when he reminds us that focusing on becoming the right person for yourself is one of the biggest steps within a happy life. We often talk about finding a soulmate or sharing our lives with people, friends, partners, which are all, of course, beautiful things that fill us up in different ways. I think Humble the Poet does a beautiful job of talking about this baseline of who we are and who we can become. And I think that oftentimes we hear the term selfish and we think of it in negative terms. And I think that through wellness and through our practices at wellness, we can understand selfishness as a neutral or even a positive thing. Putting ourselves first and understanding our emotions and our needs is beautiful, and it's self-compassionate, and that's something we're always going to encourage. And that's something that's going to really contribute to happiness, is definitely self-compassion. And lastly, Humble the Poet reminds us that we tend to sabotage our happiness by ignoring the wonderful things in our life. We just had a lovely conversation with Chelsea off camera about choosing gratitude and choosing happiness. And it's just as much about cognizantly being happy as it is about just that absence of negative thought. And we're going to get into this more through the presentation, but sometimes just even if you don't feel like you can be grateful, even if you don't feel like you can be positive in the moment, I strongly encourage you to challenge to, at the very least, stay neutral. Because Humble the Poet reminds us that we sabotage ourselves through ignoring all of the beautiful, incredible things going around us every single day. And we're going to get into that a little bit more about how we can really hone in on that. So I did talk about Humble the Poet quite a bit. He is really inspirational. He reminds us that anything worth saying once is worth repeating, which I think is beautiful. I think it's a really great reminder to be cognizant and impeccable with your word. These are two of his books that I would recommend to students that are feeling like they want a light read, but I know as students we're doing so much work as faculty members, our jobs, all we're doing is constantly reading. These chapters are maybe 1 to 3 pages each. So even if you need a 5-minute reset, you read a book for 2 minutes and maybe you learn something. So check these books out if you feel free. I wanted to just mention that in case people wanted to do some further research.
Thanks so much, Olivia. Yeah, like Olivia said, we should understand that pain is inevitable. Life involves pain. Sometimes we go through loss of loved ones, friends, separation, breakup, divorce, rejection, illness or infirmity. But we should always remember that, but the good news is, yeah, the good news is that we can handle these painful feelings by making room for them, rising above them, and creating a life worth living. Like what Olivia said, is a commitment you have to make, and we should respect whatever we are feeling, and that's part of making room for them. So whatever makes you make room for whatever you're feeling. Most people use prayers, meditation. I enjoy yoga because it just makes me go be in tune with my body. And I feel like I heard once you're feeling anxious and depressed, it means like your body, some part of your body is being stuck. So it's just like you letting go and feel freedom. So yeah, also this makes you rise above them because you get more inspired to push on. So like if it's prayers or meditation that works for you, journaling, you would want to continually do this, so in order to rise above whatever you're feeling. And this will create a life worth living, and this will become your daily inspiration.
Thanks, Bibi. So we talk about choosing the art of happiness. We talk about this and we understand and acknowledge that it could be a complex or maybe a hard idea to understand. So we have a couple of maybe more tangible or recognizable moments that choosing happiness might look like. We also invite at this time, if you have any ideas of what choosing happiness looks like for you, feel free to turn your mic on and let us know, or you can let us know in the chat. We can understand choosing happiness as maybe reading a helpful book, active listening, being prepared to listen and wholeheartedly respond to somebody that you care about, a gratitude reflection. Sometimes my friends and I will be hanging out and I'll just stop everything and I'll say, let's have a gratitude circle. And we just take 5 minutes and we all go around the room and we each say a couple things we're grateful for, and it grounds us. Taking the high road and forgiveness kind of go hand in hand. If you feel like you can, if you feel like maybe you were wronged, but you feel like you can, again, what BB was talking about, rise above those moments and lead a life worth living, and investing into things that you believe in and you resonate with. If you feel like you can forgive, if you feel like you can take the high road, it definitely helps us in our journey of choosing happiness. Self-compassion, which I mentioned before, which is just this true mindfulness, open-hearted, non-judgmental presence that we have towards ourselves, treating ourselves like a loved one, a friend, a pet, a person in need. We're so quick to care for others and be compassionate and understanding, and sometimes I think we fall short on ourselves. So it's a reminder that happiness every single day is waking up and choosing yourself, and it's okay to put yourself first. Shutting off your phone. Social media can be beautiful, it can be helpful, and in the digital age, I think sometimes we just get a little bit too much of it. Whether this looks like having an hour free of your phone every single day, maybe you turn your phone off at 7 p.m., maybe you make a rule that you don't eat with your phone in the room. These are all just little suggestions and things that sometimes we're taking in so much content that it's easy for us to get stuck inside comparison in other people's lives, and it can sometimes hinder our journey to happiness. And focusing on the breath / meditation or prayer. As BB mentioned, spirituality, yoga, religion, these are all things that we can turn to. We can find unity in these things, and we can find guides in these things. And the beautiful thing about that is that they're all waiting there for you to read about, learn about, and resonate with. You have a lot of freedom here. And lastly, acceptance, a wholehearted acceptance of, again, BB talks about it beautifully, that life does involve these moments of pain and suffering, and it's really how we react and rise above them that is where we start doing the real work of choosing happiness.
Yeah, I like what. Okay, sorry, Olivia. I really like what you said, but in the aspect of forgiveness, where you talked about judgment, because I come from Africa, and where I come from, like, even as a child, they start to judge you for whatever you do. So as you grow older, you don't even trust your instincts, or you start to doubt your limits or things like that. So, and yeah, it becomes a struggle to find happiness that way, when you feel like whatever you do, you're not too sure of yourself. And so just taking on whatever works for you. Over the years, prayers has worked for me, because I'm from a Christian home, and and there was just so much judgment. And now that I'm growing and maturing, I realized that in fact it's more of stillness, being more still and being present. So I believe now meditation really works for me and makes me to tune into my intuition. So whatever you feel is a way for you to find happiness in any way, whether it's reading books and all of these other things that Olivia has mentioned. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, V. That's really beautiful, and I think that's really self-compassionate of you as well. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, we're gonna do a little activity because it's really easy to talk about this stuff, and BB and I love our presentation. We're so excited to be here today talking about the art of choosing happiness, something we're both really passionate about. But we acknowledge that it's not everyone's passion, and we acknowledge that everyone finds solace and neutrality in a different emotion. So sometimes it's hard for us to start. Sometimes it's hard for us to say, okay, what is a feasible, tangible moment that I can engage in that can really make me start choosing happiness? So we have this beautiful little thing called the 5-minute journal, and right here on the side here, I have what can we do? Start and end your day with mindfulness. Mindfulness, a cognizant understanding and connection to the moment, which is a really beautiful thing. And we find self-compassion in mindfulness. We find happiness in mindfulness, and I think we find peace in it. So the 5-minute journal right here, I do have one. I have at the bottom chaptersindigo.com, or feel free to make your own. You really don't have to spend any money on it if you don't want to. Don't feel like you have to. But we're going to do a little activity. We're going to run through a 5-minute journal activity. I'm going to reflect on a 5-minute journal I've done, and then we're going to hand it over to BB. And if anybody else feels like they want to chime in, please feel free. So you can see that it's divided into morning and night. So it's basically just a couple minutes in the morning, not even, and then a minute at night. So first off, we start with 3 things that we're grateful for. And this gets the gratitude flowing right off the bat. Right in the morning, we wake up and we instill a positive mindset, regardless of how we're feeling, regardless of what we have on the agenda for today. We know for a fact that through all of the craziness, I'm sure we could name 3 things that we're grateful for. And I want to do an example because I think sometimes people feel like this has to be really profound, and sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. So I'm going to just read off what I did yesterday. So it says 3 things I'm grateful for. First off, the weekend. I was excited for the weekend, so I said that I was grateful for it. Again, this is an example of something that it doesn't have to be serious, but it can definitely be something easy. I said I'm grateful for love. I think I was feeling a little bit off on a high Valentine's Day. I heard from a lot of really lovely friends, and I was feeling particularly grateful for human connection that day, and specifically love, which is okay. Again, like, it only has to make sense to me. It only has to resonate to me. And last, I put my body. I was grateful for my body that day. I've been through a lot. I've traveled the world. I've been lucky enough to see a lot of incredible things, and I wouldn't have been able to do any of it without my body. And I think sometimes we can get caught up in being unhappy with ourselves and getting caught up in our looks. And I think that the 5-minute journal always reminds me to be grateful for the things that I do forget to be grateful for. So very grateful for my body. What would make today great? I said coffee. I said visiting with a friend, so maybe a connection, and balanced eating. So I think that I wanted to be a little bit more cognizant, like BB mentioned at the beginning. Maybe choosing happiness is adding a couple more vegetables and fruit into your diet, and that doesn't necessarily mean you have to take anything away or make a huge change, but maybe just a little bit of an addition. And finally, a daily affirmation, something, a moment for you to acknowledge yourself and be proud of yourself. And it's a good thing, and it's a necessary thing, and we deserve to be proud of ourselves, and we deserve validation and acknowledgement. Here I have daily affirmation. I am happy, beautiful, worth it. Don't be afraid to write a couple things. I think this day I was feeling particularly happy, and I think I was feeling like I was worth it. And I wrote it down. And again, this is a really non-judgmental practice. You have to be able to fully let your guard down. Remember that this is only a conversation with yourself, and that non-judgmental piece really, really comes in through the mindfulness. And it's essential to the process. And then we live through our day. And then we come back and we reflect. Oftentimes, I think at the end of the day, sometimes we again sabotage ourselves. Humble the Poet reminds us of the absence of positive thought. And I think that the 5-minute journal leaves no room for the absence of positive thought. And before you go to bed, 3 amazing things that happened today. And again, it can literally be anything. So I said dinner with a friend. I hung out with Nikki, who's my roommate, my best friend. And 3, I had a nice coffee. So that's kind of funny because I said that what would to make today great was a coffee. So it's a little thing. It's a little beautiful thing. And I love coffee, and I think it's a treat. So I had a nice coffee. And it says, how could I have made today even better? And I said I could have went on a hike. So it really doesn't have to be anything serious. And it can be on the other complete side of philosophical. It can be as deep or as shallow as you want it to be. The point here is that we are actively choosing what to think about, and we are setting 5 minutes aside every single day to just reflect and to just be grateful. So that was my little journal. Was there a process that you wanted to share, BB?
I must say this is so beautiful. I love this activity, and I definitely would download it. I really don't have one right now, but I can just say it like right from the top.
Sure.
Yeah. I am grateful for, first of all, my living situation. I'm in campus right now. The weather is so nice, and I stay downtown. I live alone, and I just have more time for self-care to rejuvenate. So, yeah, and I'm also grateful for the wellness center, like being a part of this team has like it has really been life changing for me, and I see myself growing and getting better each day. I'm grateful for every one of the members and the team, my leaders. You, Olivia, it's so amazing doing this to you today. And I'm also grateful for my family. They live far away from me right now, but like anytime we speak on the phone, everyone has something good to always share, which is so amazing. Uh, and what will make today great? Well, maybe taking a walk later today because the weather is so nice. So yeah, taking a walk later today. Um, yeah, probably adding some veggies in my diet. It's been a while I did that. Yeah. And yeah, my daily affirmation, I always tell myself every day that I'm inspired and motivated in order to build my confidence. So I always say this every morning, and I feel like every day gets better. So yeah. And three amazing things that would happen today. Yeah, probably yeah, taking a hike, spending doing an evening yoga tonight before going to bed. Yeah, things like that. And what would have made today even better? Maybe spending more time meditating, a longer time meditating. Yeah, so that's mine.
That's awesome. Thanks, BB. I really appreciate that. And that was such a sweet reflection. And I'm definitely grateful for you and our team. I love our wellness. And I think BB just really beautifully illustrated how quickly and honestly easy it can be to think of great things in our life. I think we struggle sometimes when we don't know what we're prompting or what we're actually looking for. So I think that these questions highlight it quite nicely. Um, Okay, so the takeaway. What can we do? What are we getting at here? So, another book recommendation is coming your way. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It is a beautiful, easy 188-page read that I would say is going to probably change your life. It definitely changed mine. I was recommended it for years before I finally bit the bullet and read it. But we're busy and we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to sum up the most beautiful parts of the book for you right now in case you do not have time to read it. If you do, I strongly encourage it. But the first thing we're reminded of through Don Miguel Ruiz, who is a member of a Toltec nation, hundreds of thousands of years, passing down this spiritual knowledge, really understanding and honing in on the art of choosing happiness. He reminds us to be impeccable with our word. So this means speaking with integrity and only saying what you mean. I think that this goes hand in hand beautifully with Humble the Poet's reminder that anything worth saying is worth repeating. Once we start thinking about our personal word as this incredibly powerful and direction of truth and love, we can better understand that the word is a tool that we can use for positive or negative. And going back to the three parts, the choice, the commit, the given, the commitment, and the choice, this is really all about the choice. This is really all about understanding that we have the power to change someone's day with just simply through our language and the words that we use. And going further to that, the second agreement, the second reminder is to not take anything personally. You don't take anything personally, because we remember that nothing others do is truly because of us. It's because of themselves. And everyone has the book really beautifully talks about how everyone has their own dream of reality, and everything that I see through a day is just as valid and just as honest as everything that you see throughout the day, and just as BB sees throughout the day. But surely we're not going to see everything the same way. When we make decisions throughout our day, It's often because of us. It's often because of our next move in life and what we need at the time. And yet we take things personally when other people make decisions around us. And I think that this is a really beautiful reminder that I often need is to not take things personally, because people are really doing things to serve them and because of them. And if we're being self-compassionate and if we're putting ourselves first and we're implementing these changes and choosing happiness that we've talked about, then surely our actions are based on us and our gratitude and our personal happiness, which again validates the thought we don't need to take things personally. And third, it goes on to say that we shouldn't make assumptions. It's not healthy and it's not productive. Don Miguel Ruiz, he encourages curiosity and he encourages honesty for us to express what we're truly wanting and feeling in the moment, and communicating with people as clearly and open-heartedly as possible is a really great way to instill happiness in your life. It's an element of integrity I think that sometimes we miss. And again, I think it connects beautifully to the other two agreements that we're not to make assumptions, because we're not here taking anything personally, and we would love to believe that everyone's being impeccable with their words. So these agreements build on each other, and they all work in an equilibrium and kind of a united harmony. And it brings us to our last agreement, that I think if you had to take anything away from this lesson, it would be to always do your best. And really acknowledging that our best looks so different moment to moment. And it's going to be different from depending on the day that we have. And as long as we're simply giving 100% of what we can, it really avoids the self-judgment, self-abuse, regret, questioning, icky feelings that sometimes we find ourselves in. Sometimes your best is going to be waking up, smashing a midterm, working out, making yourself a healthy meal, and connecting with a friend. And sometimes your best is going to be getting up out of bed to go make yourself a smoothie and right back into bed and watching the Kardashians all day. Whatever your best is at the day, as long as you know within your heart that you are fueling at your very best, you are running at the capacity that you feel like you're able to give, you're going to be left with a huge sense of completion. You're gonna feel happy. You're gonna feel solace in those moments of understanding that you truly did everything you can in the moment. So the Four Agreements, it's a beautiful book. Like I said, it's a quick read. It's an easy read if you feel like it. Obviously, Ruiz really dives into these concepts and and helps you better understand them. But those are the 4 takeaways. Yeah, feel free to screenshot this. And I just wanted to stop here. We are coming to the end of our presentation in a minute, but if you are interested in any of the books or reading that BB and I mentioned today, How to Stop Struggling and Start Living, 101 Simple Truths for a Better Life, 101 Life Lessons Without the Bull, The Four Agreements, these are all books we highly recommend. They help us. They teach us so much. I'm so grateful for books, and I'm so grateful for the people and the trailblazers and the mindfulness leaders that have done so much work before us. And there's really beautiful things written and set out there. We encourage you to try and find it at your local bookstore, but we also have a couple other links down below: humblethepoet.com, chapters.com, and Amazon if you can't find the book and you are really hoping for it.
Thank you, Olivia. So yeah, the positive social media recommendations, if you want to take a screenshot on Instagram and also on YouTube, you can follow them. And here is a wellness reminder that detoxifying your social media will make your life enjoyable and more, yeah, your everyday life enjoyable. So yeah.
We're just going to give a minute for people to screenshot. Command-Shift-4 if you're on a Mac. Okay, so we're going to leave you with a quote we write to taste life twice, in the moment and in retrospect. So we encourage you guys to be mindful. We encourage everyone out there to have a moment of self-reflection today, a moment of gratitude. And we encourage you to look back on your life and be grateful and reminisce on the positive and the great and the good, because there's a lot. We're the Wellness Center. We're here for you. We have drop-in live chat hours varying from Monday to Friday. Please reach out to us on our social media accounts, Instagram and Facebook. And the next Wellness in Your House is exactly 1 week from today on Wednesday. Anything to add, BB? Okay. Thanks.